out asking a question of when TVLA got their own school number and operating like a school, because I don't remember voting on that. So it was made its own school,
12-13 school year, it was its own school number.
okay, but did that go before the board to vote?
I can only assume it did. I'm sure we can go back through the, Tracy, do you recall, I know you were helping me source that information, 12-13 was the first year for TVLA, got its own school code, that number, it had its first year school improvement plan, 13-14. Do you recall any of that?
I don't know how that behind the scenes, I just know that it came up and we knew they had to have a school improvement plan that following year. So that was from the beginning, right? 2012 is when they started.
12-13 was the
So
first
when
year.
they created, that was, I mean, that was just, and I don't know if that was a state requirement that it had to be, like I wasn't part of that, but I do know that from the start it's had its own school code.
But it wouldn't have been a behind-the-scenes thing. It would have had to have been out here by the board.
So it's not an alternative, so it's not like where, it's not alternative school, it was a new.
The virtual academy.
And with the state waivers, I think that's what, like that's the procedure of the state, I think, is how it.
Well, and I think we just need to have a discussion. There is a concern of mine that we're transferring students that aren't doing well in both high schools. Are we transferring them for what's best for students, or so that they don't affect the high school's graduation and dropout rate? And if we put all of those students at TVLA school, program, whatever you want to call it, in 3 years, when that school isn't making adequate yearly progress and isn't having the test scores that they should have, are we going to be compelled to close that school? It's going to be one of the priority schools, whether it's at risk or not, because it's not producing the graduation rate and the test scores that it should be producing. So if we're just moving kids around and moving them out of the high school and putting them in TVLA, then TVLA is going to have a higher concentration of students that are possibly not going to drop out, or are going to drop out, and or have lower test scores. So in a few years of doing that, then we put TVLA on a priority list. So that has to be part of the discussion, and that's been part of the problem, in my opinion, with TVLA, is we'll get it started, we'll bring in the revenue, and we'll make it up as we go along. And that's my biggest frustration sitting here as a board member, because we do have oversight for curriculum for this district. And that's a huge curriculum change that we did not have a full thought-out plan before we started, and now we're dealing with it.
Well, I can share that frustration. It's one of many examples of situations Marianne and I have delved into that there's simply no language in place. So this is an example of a program that's been operational now. This is year 5, where it's clearly changed over time. Tons of things that are very effective about it, but also without any of that guiding process language in place, and or without any updates from that original mission when it first opened to encompass things like the closing and tightening, then I guess you could use the word autopilot. I don't know where that steering has taken place, but I know, as Marianne and I started to look into it more and help support Jackie as she transitioned into more of that principal leadership role over that program and guiding Pat Scott, it was clear to me and Marianne, and I know it was clear to the board when we shared it with you, that we needed to invest in that program. And so the support with the full-time counselor there to help really guide those difficult transcript interpretation questions and curricular questions was critical. You can't have a virtual academy that's interpreting transcripts from other schools without a professional in place to do that. And so now with the counselor in place, we have that. We'll have to continue to support that program to make it even better than it is now. But I do share your frustration that if it's different than it sounded like it was going to be in 12-13, I really can't speak to that. I know just where we are now. We clearly see a need, and we have consistent feedback from Tommy and Melissa and Jackie that are all supportive of cleaning up The understanding about how students move, when they move, if they move, because right now it's kind of the Wild West of transfers. There really isn't that in place. And so absent that, it's time to build it. And we'll definitely be incorporating their feedback when we share a draft with the board.
But we started that program as a program and not as a separate school, because if you look at the contract language for principal, one building, one principal, and that's why I've asked, where's the MOU that says we got approval from TPA to have one principal over two schools? And I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me, and to my knowledge, that's not been part of the discussion. So again, we just get to make it up as we go along, and not we. Administration makes it up as we go along, and you get it so far down the road that, quote, the board can't turn back. That's the old way of doing business. The new way of doing business should be all administrators and all board members sitting down with staff to decide what the program is before we even put it in place, and how we're going to move forward, and if we need to change, then we reconvene and have an adult discussion about the program, and that's not been done. As you say, there's no language in place. We make it up as we go, and when we have problems, then it becomes an emergency and we have to deal with it. And I'm very frustrated in doing business this way, and I hope we don't continue to do that.
I agree with you, but unfortunately, we're kind of building the plane as we're flying it, and we don't have an option plan. We have kids graduating in June, and we have language we need to put in place. And while it is at times probably after the fact of the matter is it is what it is. I mean, this is where we are, and I'm not going to cast a glance back as to what woulda, coulda, shoulda. But here's where we are, and I think with everyone's collective feedback, it's a heavy lift, but a lot like some of the other stuff we're working on, it's not an impossible task. We've got committed folks, we've got folks who have expertise in the area, and now it's just a matter of putting the process in place. Because to identify the issue and then do nothing about it isn't. I can't recommend that, which is why I know some of these things probably sound like, here it comes again. I know I brought it up at least 2 meetings in a row now, but I want to make sure the way I operate is no surprises for the board. I'm making sure to keep this stuff first and foremost and in front of the board so we can have those discussions and then put that language in place. And ultimately, the board gets to chart that course. If the board wishes to change the direction and the mission and the focus of TBLA, that is certainly within the board's purview to do. And that certainly, in the absence of Titan, would it have been nice to have had that discussion when Titan closed? Yes, but that's not where we are. So I think now, given the fact that TBLA is kind of on its own morphed into this hybrid role, once we see the documents, when we're in closed session, we can really have maybe some more information to help guide the next steps with this discussion.
There were some of us board members that spoke out about Titan being moved and closed and how the process was going on. So we attempted to have conversations, and again, it was make it up as you go along. And again, I just can't be a part of that anymore.
Moving on, bond planning update. Penny and I will be discussing, as Penny will be discussing during other one, we are prepared to move forward with formalizing the bus purchase plan as been shared at the Board Finance Committee. We've received 3 bids. And with the current timeline for projected purchases, working with Steve, taking a look at when the new model years come out, we're going to be able to possibly get a little bit better deal than those original projections were showing us. We had a 3-year rolling purchase plan. It was 6 buses a year for the next 3 years for a total of 18. It was $1,488,000. Projection is we should be able to get a better deal than that. The new model years are about to come out in the school bus industry, so looks like we'll be able to purchase. Last year's model is new. These are untitled, unpurchased buses, full warranty in place, with maybe a little bit of a discount over that original quoted price. So looking forward to finalizing those. Patty's working with Steve on that, and we'll have some more information on that very soon. Penny and I have a meeting with a rep from Tremco tomorrow to identify some more information about priority needs with roofing, help us with creating some specs and RFPs. Tremco is a company that the district has done business with in the past, but they're not the only roofing company around, and we want to make sure we're gathering bids from the other companies so we're able to compare the cost of the roofing membrane as well as the warranty. What we're learning as we look a little more at this is some companies use a membrane, a Duralast membrane, others use a 3M membrane, others use a different membrane, and they're all proprietary. So you might have an installer like Tremco that uses their own membrane, and they give you a warranty on that membrane if they install it. But you can buy that membrane from another company, and then the question is the warranty the same? So it's a little bit like sorting through the weeds to figure out what actually the best proposal is. So we're going to look, even more closely at those specs as we pull these RFPs in with the other quotes. Make sure we're getting the best warranty as well as the best square foot cost. The industry average right now is about $18 a square foot installed price on these membrane flat panel roofs, and basically it's a Plasti-Weld seam where they heat it and weld the pieces together. So there's no tar, there's no stuff up there that's supposed to pull apart if it gets really hot. Some companies will have a 7-year, a 10-year, maybe a 12 or a 15-year warranty. So of course we've got to take that into consideration. We tend to see roof leaks cropping up, Leanne, after about how many years on these membrane roofs?
That I couldn't say.
Okay.
Because the ones we have done are still in good shape. It's the ones we have not had
Okay.
replaced that are leaking.
Okay. So those of course are those priority list areas. Just to update the board on that, of course, those roofs that we've already identified as the priority needs are roofs at Hoover, Randall, Eureka Dale, and Moody. We've already discussed those. Work continues to finalize district needs in the other areas of facility improvements.